And we are back, and we just finished watching 2002's Punch Drunk Love, rated R, with a runtime of 1 hour and 35 minutes. This comes to us from writer-director Paul Thomas Anderson. We had seen this in the theater, but it's funny thinking of it now. Originally, when we saw it, I thought of this as a drama, but it really is a romantic comedy.
It's a very strange romantic comedy, but yeah, I would say it falls into that bucket, though it's definitely dancing on the rim of that bucket. Yeah, it's not your typical
romantic comedy.
Yeah, there's no people falling into cakes and giggling uncontrollably. Yeah. I don't know if anybody laughs in this movie at all.
At all. No, it's interesting because it's tagged on IMDb as dark comedy. Fair.
Correct, yeah.
And romantic comedy.
Yeah.
Where have we been this whole time?
Well, I think
I legit thought this was a drama.
I remember watching it with you the first time, and I guess the prevalent feeling was, oh my God, what is happening? Like incredible cringe.
Yeah. Like that episode of The Bear, the fishes.
Yes, like that. You just feel uncomfortable watching it just because these people are very awkward.
And some of them are very vicious.
Yes. You feel bad for Barry.
Yeah.
When you first see him, you could tell there's something not quite all there with Barry, or there's something bothering him. He's
off away.
The way he moves, the way his suit fits him, his haircut, everything about Barry just sort of screams socially awkward.
Yes,
and
absolutely.
Adam Sandler just does an amazing job conveying that. It's like his body language is just screaming this fact. You know, that's like really good acting.
That's top tier.
I think this was like the first film that you ever saw his that you were like, I like him as an actor.
Yes, thank you for bringing that up. I'm going to out myself and say I had no interest in Adam Sandler comedies. I didn't understand his appeal. I never got his comedy. I hated him on SNL. Wasn't a fan. I don't think I've ever paid money to see any of his films. I may have tagged along with people, but I've never outwardly paid money other than this.
Yeah. Well, I wonder what possessed you to be like, I'm going to go watch this movie.
Because I have such respect for P.T. Anderson. That's why. And I was like, this is the one time where I didn't let my mania of, I don't like that person, cloud my judgment. And I'm so glad that I didn't, because normally I wouldn't look for Adam Sandler movies. Never. But I saw the trailer. I saw that it was Paul Thomas Anderson. And I was like, I got to watch this. And I made you come with me. What else were you going to do?
Yeah, I like the one movies with you.
And I think we had a really great time. I was transfixed. I was never bored. I was completely invested in the story. Adam Sandler, in an hour and 35 minutes, made me love him.
Yeah.
And that's a fact.
Yeah, he's fantastic in this. Everybody does an amazing job.
They do, but he is the standout.
He is the focal point.
Yeah.
He is what this movie revolves around.
And I don't know, I didn't really deep dive, but I think before this, he hadn't really done anything against the grain. He'd always been Happy Gilmore or Big Daddy or all those other characters, Billy Madison, whatever. He never strayed from his bread and butter.
No, I think this was his first attempt to like venture into that dramatic territory where it's not just my fans are going to carry this film through the box office.
Right, which he had a long streak of that. God bless.
He did fantastically well right up until, I think, Little Nicky. And that's when everybody was like, okay, turned. I think you pushed it a bit too far.
Yeah, we've seen the same movie for like the last 20 years. Right. Yeah. But I have to tell you, dramatic Adam Sandler, I am here for it all goddamn day. I love Uncut Gems.
Yes.
Holy smokes.
Uncut Gems is amazing too.
Amazing. Get on that, folks. Yeah, but this is like this is my real first introduction to Adam Sandler. After this, like I'll even watch his stupid movies now, like QB Halloween, because of the goodwill that he favored with this amazing performance. Amazing. And I agree with you 100%. Everything about him in this film is just awkward personified.
Yeah, and it's not just like there for the sake of it being there.
For a laugh.
The story shows you why this is happening or why this is the way it is. He's got how many? 11 sisters?
7.
7 sisters, and they are all just harpies.
Oh, yeah, awful harpies.
Just terrible.
I mean,
just berating him and pressuring him, and you could see he's just been like pecked on.
Yeah.
And then they mention little things from the past. Oh, remember this, and then you lost your mind. You threw a hammer through the window.
Yeah.
And it's like, I can understand why he did that.
Yeah. And I think sort of like kind of what we were saying before, it's almost like his embarrassment, right? Because he'll turn around because at one point Lena, the Emily Watson character, is like, oh, you threw a hammer through the... And he's like, oh, yeah, no, my sister's a liar.
Yeah, he's definitely ashamed by
his behavior.
His outbursts of...
Uncontrolled rage. Yeah, because that's basically what it is.
And there are a couple of instances where that does happen.
That dinner party for the sisters'
the dinner
birthday.
Party, yeah.
Holy smokes.
The restaurants.
Yes. When he goes after those guys when they hurt
Lena.
It's a good
effect for the 4 brothers because they deserved it.
They did deserve it. I'm glad you brought that up. I didn't mean to cut you off. Hang on to that thought. But when he attacks the 4 brothers, like he was like an action star. He did not stutter. He went after them and just
one shot. It was like one shot each.
Like,
yeah.
Wait now. What is going on?
This was something that was in him that I guess it needed purpose because prior to that, it was just an emotional outburst that he really did not have any control over that made him ashamed. Right. But in that particular instance, there was a definite reason for him to behave that way. And even afterwards, you could see, like when he goes and he confronts Philip Seymour Hoffman's
character.
The things he's saying sound almost comic booky.
Yes.
You know, I have a power that you can't comprehend or something like that. I forgot his exact quote, but it's not the sort of thing that you would say when you're
out loud,
when you're in somebody's face and you're trash talking them.
Right. Yes.
It was very strange. And you could see, I don't think Philip Seymour Hoffman's character knew how to react to that. It was just like, this guy's in my face and he is saying some pretty weird stuff.
Should I back down? And I think he took it down a notch too.
He totally took it down. And then Barry's leaving, and then he's like, Philip Seymour Hoffman decides he's going to get maybe the last word in. And Barry just turns around and he's like, what did I fucking say to you? And the guy's like, all right, enough.
That's it.
We're good.
Yeah. And then just walks away. The lovely and always missed Philip Seymour Hoffman. He doesn't have a big turn in this, but in every scene that he's in, he's always magic. I always miss that guy. Whenever I see him in films, I'm like, he was just so...
He was an amazingly versatile actor. And he
could play
for all the nice, the schlubby nice guy.
Like in Magnolia.
But in this, he's a douchebag in that Mission Impossible movie. You just wanted to see him die. He's so good.
Such a good actor.
Yeah.
Such a good actor.
Very missed.
Very, very missed. It's kind of funny. Another kind of thread throughout the multiverse here of films. I recently did Popeye for my films discussion group, and He Needs Me by the recently departed Shelley Duvall plays in this, which it's kind of funny because I think you and I talked about it offline about not really caring for Popeye, and on the second viewing wasn't much better.
No, Popeye's
Please,
not a
no
good
one
movie.
explain to me Robert Altman, right? Don't get it, don't care. Didn't hold up, that movie.
Hold up implied that it was good the first time we watched it.
Well, I think people assume, it's a Robert Altman movie, so it's...
I don't even... When people are talking about Robert Altman movies, they're not like, The Player, Popeye. They're not... Nobody's mentioning Popeye.
Popeye's not in that sentence?
No. It's not in the pantheon, the Mount Rushmore of Robert Altman movies.
But anyway, so getting back to Punch Drunk Love, which is a top-tier film. The use of Shelley Duvall's He Needs Me in this film is just brilliant and just takes this next level. I think also shout out to the sound and music departments on this because you absolutely get a sense of anxiety throughout the film.
The music that plays when you see Barry, like his anxiety level is rising. That weird like poppy, not poppy like pop music, but like clicky sort of ambient techno almost.
Music.
Electronic sounds. It really ratchets up your anxiety too. You feel it with him. Plus, just the way he was moving and in that freaking suit
that he never took off.
He never took off. It was like a little too big for him, maybe.
Yeah. And this shocking blue color too.
Just this vibrant blue. Yeah. He just looked uncomfortable.
Yes. He definitely looked uncomfortable through most of the film. I think at the end he has a change. There's a change when he talks to her.
She makes him better.
Yes.
Like that's that's another thing that's like very sweet about this movie is that these two people, because she's
people.
Yeah, she's something's messed up with her too, because one, she likes Barry,
and two, her sweet talk is kind of strange.
Yes, her sweet talk is very strange. I want to bite your face and chew it.
What? Scoop your eyes out.
Scoop your eyes out and eat them.
Like, I think the first time we saw this movie, I was like, wait a minute, what kind of film is this?
Yeah. That is some interesting pillow talk.
Exactly. But everybody is great in this.
Bash your head with a sledgehammer. And then at the end, he's just like, yeah, this is good.
Well, getting to the end, I feel like, this is boy meets girl. And they live happily ever after, I'm assuming. But it's kind of interesting because at the end, his whole speech to her at the door was very interesting because it was very earnest. It was very honest. He was
super honest with her.
Yeah,
there was no moment. Yeah, there was no covering up.
He laid his cards on the table.
Yeah,
and
as embarrassing as those cards
were, he was hoping, he was giving her the power, and she was going to decide in that moment whether he stayed or whether he left.
Yeah.
And I remember the first time seeing it, the anxiety of like, oh, Lena, please take him back. Because what he did was shitty, but he had a good reason.
He had a, he had to finish his business.
And
get that squared away because he didn't want anything bad to happen to her again.
Right. So he was fighting for his future.
Yeah, I think that moment when he looks at her and he sees that little trickle of blood come down and she's in the hospital.
Boom. He becomes like...
Yeah, he needed to make sure that never happens to her because he was just... It was like, she's the girl that she actually wants me. She actually likes me.
Yeah.
And I really like her. And their weirdness complemented each other so well.
Very much. To the point where I think he was willing to walk away from his business to just travel with her. Which is
pretty much. He's just
amazing.
like, just give me 6 weeks,
6 to 8 weeks,
and I'll be able to sell all the pudding, and then I can travel the world with you wherever you go.
Yeah.
Which just sounds like gibberish.
Yes. But in the context of the story is just, you're like, oh.
But it's really good how it all works out.
Yeah. This is not a long film, and yet
it's like an hour and a half.
Yes, an hour and 35 minutes. So much happens. You are treated to some really interesting character developments and story. And just, again, taking a genre and spinning it on its head. I think that's the best way to describe this film. Yeah. Because we know what a romantic comedy is. It's 13 going on 30. It's Legally Blonde. It's something with Kate Hudson. We know what romantic comedies are. But when you take the premise of broken people finding each other in this crazy world and you do it in a non-traditional way, as Paul Thomas Anderson has done here, I think he deserves all the flowers. I know that people talk about, listen, everybody's got an opinion, but this to me is one of the best Paul Thomas Anderson movies because it takes something that you've seen before and and it just completely origamis it to just a different thing. You're still seeing the same thing, but it's such an inventive, original way of telling the story of boy meets girl and boy falls in love with girl. Shit happens, and will they survive?
Yeah, I mean, it's amazing when somebody could take a specific genre of movie and just make something new out of it.
Yeah, yeah.
That's impressive, and to do it in a way that works. Because some people, they will, we're going to make a Western, but it's going to be totally different, and you watch it and you're just like, why did you even make it a Western? This is garbage.
Yeah. Let's talk about the side characters, who are also great. Emily Watson. I mean, she's not really a side character. She's the main female lead, but
she's the love interest.
She's the love interest. What say you?
She was great in it too. She definitely conveyed that she genuinely liked Barry.
Yes.
Like even from the beginning, like she shows up before the alleged setup
with the
sister. So she was definitely interested in Barry. God only knows why. She mentions that she was married. I'm guessing it didn't go well or something like that. That's the impression I got. And I think the thing that she really liked about Barry was very honest. Like we mentioned earlier, even with extremely embarrassing things, he just blurted out.
Yeah, he didn't have a filter.
I'm being blackmailed by a sex call line or something like that.
Another thing that's thrown in the mix that is pretty crazy, and also finding the loophole for Air Miles.
Yeah, which is based on a true story.
Yeah. What did we think of his sister Elizabeth, played by
Mary Lynn Ruskjub from
24?
She played her part. She definitely sort of excels in that.
I look like I'm sucking on a lemon.
I smelled a fart. I'm upset by something. Like she always has that look on her face that she's in a situation and she's not pleased to be there. Mm-hmm. And she was sort of like the
sister that was closest to him?
The main sister. Yeah. But all the other sisters were terrible to him as well.
Gosh.
But she was the one that was there mostly, and she was the one who was, I guess, involved in this whole setup between
Barry and Lena.
To the point where that phone call, when he's on that payphone in Hawaii, and he's just like, "Yeah, could I have her number?"
Oh God, yes.
And she's like, "What do you want her number for? What do you want?" Yeah. And he's just like, "Stop it! You're killing me! Just give me your goddamn number! I'll fucking kill you!" Oh my God, this family is just deranged.
And also, goddamn Robert Smigel.
Yeah.
He outed Barry. That some bitch.
Oh, honestly, he had no obligation to keep it confidential.
He's a dentist.
Yeah. Plus, he's married to one of the sisters. Harpies. So yeah, I'm sure.
But they must have telephoned.
Oh God, yeah.
Knew. That was the thing. Like, because when Elizabeth mentions it, I was cringing on the couch, and I was like, I've seen this movie, and yet I'm still mortified by this scene.
She's like, he's saying that you're crying all the time.
What is that about? And then she redeems herself when she's talking to Lena, who says, "Oh yeah, he's strange."
Yeah, that was an interesting part. It was like, hey, you can't call him strange. I can call him strange. He's mine to abuse.
But you don't get to
you don't get to say anything weird about him.
Yeah.
And Lena sort of just brushes it off because she really didn't think he was strange. She thought he was fantastic.
No, I don't know if they'd had sex. I mean, they could have.
Yeah, maybe.
He was on her bed in a robe.
Yeah.
And her hair was
finally out of that blue suit.
Finally out of that blue suit, and her hair was all messed up. Yeah. So I thought that was the implication, but
Barry's family life was very strange. But back to the point. Yeah, she did a good job portraying that. I guess she was our ambassador to the sisterhood of terrible sisters.
Terrible, the League of Terrible Sisters.
And there was Luis Guzman, who was sort of like a really good right hand man.
Yeah, yeah. Oh my gosh, one of my favorite scenes is when she comes back after the whole wanting to set up, and she comes back to ask him to take her out. Basically, she grabs the bull by the horns. Mm-hmm. And Lance, played by Luis Guzman, and all of his workers are just. Did you caught that? It was like, what do we do? Do we leave? Do we just stay immobile and not?
The feeling that I always got from Luis Guzman and all the other people was they all know Barry's weird as hell, but it's just like he's our guy.
Yes, and they would look out for him.
He's our brother. We're gonna look out for him.
Yes, he's our strange little cousin or whatever. Yeah, because remember they would be sitting out at breaks, and he would be sitting with them.
Yeah,
he probably didn't participate in conversation, but they liked him enough to allow him to sit with them.
Yeah,
so.
and also. Funny thing was when in the beginning of the movie, Luis Guzman was like, "Why are you wearing a suit?"
And then the next day,
Luis Guzman now wears a suit.
yes. But his suit is much nicer. But anyway, yes, agreed. Another thing that I want to talk about, I don't know if this is going to impact you much, is the use of color in the film. There's vibrancy in this hot mess.
It's not only the color, but also sort of the light is sort of like almost distorting the edges of the
frame
with like bright colors, sort of like you're looking through things in a prism.
Yes, I didn't think of it that way, but yeah, that sort of tracks.
Yeah. When they show just like the screen filled with colors, it's usually a spectrum.
Yes,
going left to right. You know, the line of colors, and I don't know if that was something saying about Barry being, I guess, autistic, being on a spectrum.
That's interesting. I never thought of it that way, but that's definitely an interpretation.
Yeah, it could just be like a visual metaphor. Who knows?
Yeah.
Or maybe I'm just making that up. But it definitely, the use of color was definitely interesting, and just the fact of, like, seriously, Barry's suit,
just electric blue.
The bluest blue. I'm colorblind. I could tell that suit was blue. Yeah. And there were some scenes with Lena where she's wearing a very, very red shirt. So it really pops against him. But
red, love, fire, passion, right? So he finds his passion with Lena, and he's willing to just leave it all behind. Let's talk about the sex phone operators. That was an interesting little to-do. I mean, that's not something that's, I don't know, I guess that's not prevalent now, although I haven't seen the back of
I mean, honestly,
Craigslist.
with the internet, that sort of seems almost archaic. It's like having an ice box.
Kind of, yeah. But that was back
before
when we
cell
were young
phones
people,
and the internet. There was all sorts of sex lines
and the
late night television.
Newspapers.
Most of the commercials were just like, call now 1-900.
Yeah. Big butts or whatever they were hawking. Yeah. So
only $14.95 a minute.
Yes. So let's talk about that part of it too, because that's also, it's sort of an interesting aspect of the story because it is kind of a looking for love situation.
Yeah, I mean, Barry was a lonely person who he hated the fact that he was alone. He was alone, and he hated the fact that he was the way he was that made that way. And here is something where it's like, oh, well, this is transactional. This is someone that I could talk to.
Yeah.
I don't think he ever was like, oh, well, this is somebody I'm going to have a relationship with. This was just something that he felt that he needed in that moment, in that time.
Yeah.
And then it got completely twisted around when she called the next day.
Yeah.
Saying, hey, I need money for rent. And then it just got worse. And you knew something bad was going to happen because it's like...
He gave all his info.
It's like, oh, we just need your social security number.
No.
What?
Yeah. We were watching this with the kids and we were like...
pre-internet days, I knew not to give out my social security number.
Yeah. And I think we were watching this with the kids and we made specifically...
Yeah,
never give that out. Yeah,
not even at the doctor's office.
Not even at the doctor's office. They're not really allowed to ask you for that stuff anymore. So everything's a teachable moment.
Yep.
But it's kind of interesting, that whole idea of, again, looking for love in all the wrong places and how that just blew up at him. I'm sure initially that whole scene was very icky because it's like, it's terrible because people like Barry who get taken advantage of because of their simplicity or their trust or their whatever, or their desperate need for just any kind of human interactions, even if it's only over the phone, that I think the first time around I was like, and this time around I was genuinely upset and angry about that scene. I mean, not to the point where like, I can't believe Paul Thomas Anderson did this, but to the point that this highlights how mean some people are to do that to somebody.
Yeah. Like, I don't know if that particular situation happens, but it does still happen because you see, like, old people are constantly targeted by telemarketers calling up, we're from Microsoft and we your computer's infected with a virus.
I mean, the priest that married us, remember? He said his sister, like, wound up giving away all her money because somebody scammed them and was like, we're calling from the IRS and you owe back taxes. And she didn't know any better because her husband, who had by that point had passed on. Yeah. So she's just, oh my God, they have my number, so they must be. Yeah.
Plus these scammers,
some of them seem legit.
They listen to the person on the other end and they could be like, okay, this
is a mark.
This is a mark. And the same thing in this movie. I mean, you saw how Barry was talking to her. Yeah. She probably knew in the first
2 minutes,
that, this is the guy that we're going to bleed dry.
Yeah.
And they definitely do. I mean, they sent people from freaking Utah to
California. Yeah. Crazy, right?
So.
Yeah, really great film. It is uncomfortable to sit through, but I think that this film pays dividends. I think it's an amazing watch experience. I think that if you like Paul Thomas Anderson, you will love this film. It's not going to be for everyone, but I think that if you go in with an open mind, you will reap the rewards from the story.
If you're looking for a romantic comedy, this may not be it. If you're looking for a strange romantic comedy or something that breaks the mold of a romantic comedy,
definitely
you may be interested. If you're interested in people with mental issues, this could be for you. Or if you just want to watch great performances, like everybody does a great job.
Yeah, it's really great camera work too. Like I really enjoyed some of that. Like you could tell some of the shots were like on a dolly and stuff, and when he goes to Hawaii and they're turning that corner and it like the frame just zeroes in on their hands
together. Yeah.
Yeah. I love that because that's very old Hollywood kind of storytelling.
Yeah. A little pinhole wipe.
Yeah. All right. So 1 to 10, what are you giving this film?
I'll give this one an 8.
An 8. I'm going to give it a 9. I was thinking about your favorite film, 8.5, but I said, you know what? I'm going to give it a 9. It is, from where it starts to where it ends, it is quite the journey. It is very, very innovative storytelling. And like you just mentioned, exquisite performances from everyone, but a special shout out to Adam Sandler, who, as I said before, made me love him after this watch. All right, that's it from us. Again, 8, 9, definitely do yourself a favor. It's currently streaming on Hulu. Check out 2002's Punch Drunk Love from writer-director Paul Thomas Anderson. You will not be disappointed. And with that, we bid you all a
good night.
Good night.